Hey guys, how you going? Everyone mentioned today is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, and everything I discuss here is theory until proven fact, even if it is. How you going, guys? Okay, let's get into this. Just let me fix something there. Okay, Joshua T. Hostler said in response to Mamdani winning New York City mayoral race, Cardinal Robert Sarah said, as a bishop, it's my duty to warn the West the barbarians are already inside the city. We could have had Sarah as our pope, but instead we got the eunuch of Islam, Pope Leo, and you'll see why. MJ Truth Ultra said, womp, womp, womp. I don't know, that's how I read it. Pope Leo says Americans need deep reflection on how illegal aliens are treated in the US. You're supposed to receive and welcome the foreigner. Sorry, Mr. Pope, you're wrong. Scripture commands submission to lawful authority, Romans 13:1-7. Illegal entry into the United States defies God's ordained orders. Deporting violators upholds, not rejects Christ's order. And strangers do not equal law-breaking illegal aliens. Matthew 25 refers to a vulnerable traveller, not a deliberate trespassing illegal alien invading our country. And finally, if welcoming every foreigner is non-negotiable, why does Vatican City jail illegal entrance for up to 4 years? Funny how Pope Leo preaches open borders for America while policing his own. That is very interesting. Because I don't know if people know their history, but Islam has tried this before. Let's have a listen anyway to Pope Leo, what he's saying.
In the first place, the role of the church is to preach the gospel. And just a couple of days ago, we heard Matthew's Gospel, chapter 25, which says, Jesus says very clearly, at the end of the world, we're going to be asked, how did you receive the foreigner? Did you receive him and welcome him or not? And I think that there's a deep reflection that needs to be made in terms of what's happening. Many people who have lived for years and years and years, never causing problems, have been deeply affected by what's going on right now. The spiritual rights of people who have been detained should also be considered, and I would certainly invite the authorities to allow pastoral workers to attend to the needs of those people. Many times they've been separated from their families for a good amount of time. No one knows what's happening, but their own spiritual needs should be attended to.
Okay, how about the people who are locked up in jail at the Vatican for 4 years? Are you going to let the Islamists inside the walls of the Vatican? Yeah, that's not what it means. And anyway, history, Islam has done this before, and the West won last time, okay? We'll see this time. Wall Street Ape said American immigrants says what happened in New York with Zohran Mamdani is the perfect example why people who just arrived into America should not get voting rights. He explains immigrants need at least 10 years to acclimate to American society, understand the culture, and have skin in the game before voting. This shows what a voter invasion might look like. So this poll that people who lived in New York City more than 5 years or born in New York City voted very differently last night than people who'd just gotten into New York City. The poll is shown in the video. Democracy is great, but the people voting have to have some skin in the game, otherwise it's just trolling. This poll apparently shows that the people that just got into New York City seems to have different skin than the people who lived in New York City for a longer period. That is also a case against giving people the right to vote when they just got into a certain country. Give immigrants the right to vote too fast. They have to be properly acclimated, maybe take a decade to understand the culture or the politics, the language especially, of this certain country before they receive the full citizenship and the right to vote. Let's tie it back to the founding of the United States, tie it back to the Mayflower, the very idea of self-governance, like you. You voted for a certain government. The government's going to act in a certain way, going to affect you. That means you have skin in the game. And people who don't have skin in the game don't get to vote. Nothing controversial about it. So this guy's an immigrant of the United States. Let's have a look at his graph.
So this shows what a voter invasion might look like.
Okay. If they've lived less than 5 years, they're going to vote mostly blue. 5 to 10 years, it gets a bit less. 10 plus years, but not born here, 35%. And I was born in New York City, then it drops again. I do think that these, what would you call it? How do I get rid of this thing? Okay. I do think that these elections were played with. Yep. Giving people the right to vote. Chicago won race at House Republicans are pushing for the denaturalisation of Zohran Mamdani. This was on the 26th of October. I don't know where this is at right now, but I would love to know. Tommy Robinson. Yes, I'm sharing Tommy Robinson. Libs celebrate Mamdani election by shouting Sharia law starts now. They've got no idea what they're chanting for, the imbeciles. If Sharia law starts right now, where's your hijab, love? You won't be on camera anymore. Do you understand that? That's not allowed.
Sharia law starts now. Absolutely. Zohran Mamdani, Islamic Caliphate, our brother in Islam, Islamic Caliphate of New York, starts today, baby.
God, there is just something so electric, so satisfying about knowing that my MAGA parents, wherever they are probably having a horrible night tonight. Oh, I literally just got goosebumps thinking about it. Like they are in such a bad mood probably about the fact that Zohran just won and Prop 50 is gonna pass. Like, wow. God, I'm sorry. It just makes me feel good that my MAGA parents are probably upset right now.
Wow.
When the day starts with Dick Cheney being dead and ends with Mamdani winning. Oh, yes. Oh.
Where's your hijab, love?
I'm so happy. Oh my God, I'm so happy.
Sharia law starts.
Okay, well, none of them will be on camera doing this. They will all be wearing hijabs. You won't be able to tell who they are. What are they? You know, communism doesn't work. Neither does socialism. And funnily enough, they're against the Nazis, but they want socialism. What do they think the Nazis were? The National Socialist Party? Hello? Anywho, let's not worry about that. Okay, EE said this young lady nailed it. She said Mamdani's victory stems from her generation's failed education system, with 75% of under 30 voters backing him. This group splits into two, a minority who despise America, chanting for global intifada, envying the wealth and aiming to destroy the nation, and the ignorant majority, aware of New York City's high costs driven by government policies, but clueless on economics or history. They fall for the promises of free rent, groceries and healthcare because they're struggling, so they fall for it, ignoring how these will drive away the rich, degrade services and cause shortages like in California, Venezuela or Cuba. Does anyone remember watch New York and watch California? This frustrates those who've studied or observed these failures. More alarmingly, knowing socialists exploit this ignorance, gaining control over education and law enforcement to worsen conditions and blame America's doomed system, it's a cycle where anti-Western forces manipulate desperate masses. We must fear socialism like Nazism. It's the same thing. The brainwashing runs deep. The antidote, equip people with facts. Let's have a listen.
Mamdani won yesterday because the education system failed my generation. 75% of voters under the age of 30 supported Mamdani. And there are essentially two types of people in this group. First, there are the people who actually hate America and want to destroy it. You know, the ones they're chanting globalize the intifada, want to assassinate everyone who makes more money than them, and think it's a tragedy that the Soviet Union collapsed. Then there's another group of people, probably the majority of people, who see that there are legitimate issues with New York City, but the education system has failed them so miserably that they have no idea how to fix it. Like, yes, New York City is extremely expensive, and government policy is largely what has made it that way. So of course, someone who comes in and says, well, everything's just going to be free, sounds great, to people who are rightfully concerned about prices but don't know anything about economics or history. But government-controlled rent, grocery stores, and healthcare are not going to make these issues better. Because once the rich people that the Mamdani voters hate so much either leave the city completely or run out of money for the government to take, they're going to first have to deal with lower quality of services and then shortages. And this is all so frustrating for those of us who have either read a book about this stuff or who are even just paying attention to what's happening in, say, our own country in like California, or who are paying attention to other countries that have gone down this path like Venezuela or Cuba. But what's most concerning to me isn't necessarily the economic issues, even though those are going to be an issue. The bigger concern for me is the growing number of people who know what socialism is and know what it leads to, but they want it for America because they hate America and want to destroy it. And the ignorant majority is giving them what they want. Because it's not just the economy that politicians have access to, they also have access to the education system and law enforcement. And with access to these parts of our society, they can intentionally make things worse and then point to things getting worse and say, look, the American project was always doomed to fail. Mamdani is the product of a cycle where people who want America and the West destroyed are creating an environment where they can easily manipulate the ignorant majority into supporting these policies that are going to actively destroy the country. Remember that desperate people are extremely easy to manipulate. People should fear socialism the same way that they fear Nazism, and the fact that they don't shows how far the brain rot goes. The only way to beat this is to start by arming people with facts. If we can't turn this around, and turn this around soon, the country will start to look like the Soviet Union, or maybe even something worse.
There you go. Geez, that TikTok thing at the end is really loud. Wow. But she's right. And the reason I care so much is because I look at Australia a bit like New York and California. God help us. They're very left-leaning. Okay, here's another one. Farm Girl Carrie said this young Russian-born woman points out that New Yorkers, by electing Mamdani as their mayor, have become the tree that has chosen the axe. She has more powerful things to say here. Now, here's someone from Russia. Okay, listen to her.
Russian community is extremely sorry for New York City. We all woke up to shocking news. Most shocking that Americans do not understand what's going on. A lot of Russians commented that trees chose the axe. This is extremely surprising to me that Americans don't see that they're choosing and going towards socialism and communism. Moreover, when I took my civic test to become American citizen, one of the questions was, what is the greatest threat to America and American system? And the answer is communism. But maybe you don't understand what communism is. Russians need to remind you, because we live there. We don't want this here. Russians are not against Muslims. A lot of Russia is Muslim. We are against sects and radical extremist movements, just to clarify. I think what happened to New York City is the greatest loss in American history.
It wasn't sex she was worried about. It is sects. You know, like SECT. Yeah, I think that the AI text-to-speech got that a bit wrong anyway.
History. You don't understand what America is. America is a country that gives equal opportunity to everybody. If you're lazy, you don't want to work, you get what you deserve. And all immigrants are coming here to get the opportunity. When you are equalized by the government, it means the opportunity is taken away from you. How you don't understand this? And this is the opposite of what America is. I am an immigrant, and technically you would say that I'm supposed to support him and support this, but I'm a Russian immigrant. Country that fell. Everybody lost everything. One day in 1991, all Russians woke up and they lost everything. Everything that was in their savings accounts, bank accounts, it was gone. The country failed because it was on the road of socialism. It is hard to be competitive in market economy because you have to provide good service. You have to work hard. If you're just stealing from those who are working hard and giving it away to minorities and immigrants, the system is gonna fall. All this money that you're getting from wealthy people, they will go somewhere else. In Russia, we say, do not cut the tree you're sitting on. Let me know in comments what you're thinking and why Americans are using term democracy and liberalism to describe socialism nowadays. I simply don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't think any of us do, love. We're very well said. She comes from a communist country. Okay, here's another one. Anna, Zoran Mamdani, and I'm concentrating mostly on him today because I'm disappointed. Funnily enough, I'm Australian. Zoran Mamdani promised free buses, childcare and groceries paid by taxing corporations. Yet 24 hours after winning, he's asking for $27 donations at Transition 2025 to fund his staff and officers. City budget starts January 1st. Socialism's first move in New York City is your wallet. Okay, let's have a listen to this lady. I've just got to check my volume to make sure it's not going to blare your ears off.
Mamdani is already asking for money.
On January 1st, I will be your mayor. New Year's Day and a new era for this city. Oh, and one more thing. Remember how I told you a few months ago to stop sending us money? You can start again. This transition requires staff, research, and an infrastructure that can meet this moment. And it will be made possible by the people who built and believe in this movement. So I hope you'll make a donation at transition2025.com. Now let's get to work.
I thought it was all going to be free. You mean somebody actually has to pay for it? What happened to all the taxes that you were going to raise on corporations on the top 1%? That was your plan to cover all of this stuff. What do you mean you need donations? He hasn't even become mayor yet, and he's already admitting that what he told you he was going to be able to do might not actually happen. If you're in New York and you're expecting donations already, my message to you is you voted for it, you donate. Put that socialism to work. It's now your job to put your money in for the good of the collective. Show us how it's done.
Oh, wow. Not only that, the problem with socialism is you eventually run out of other people's money. Wasn't that Margaret Thatcher that said that? Yeah, and apparently 1 million people are planning to flee from New York after Mamdani. So there's 1 million less taxpayers. Tara Bull said, in case you're wondering how Mamdani won the election, New York voters were paid off. I thought this was interesting.
That's what was happening. They were also giving out like debit cards with $10,000. So it's not just about medical care. Yeah. The Democrats mention the medical care because they're trying to prey on people's empathy as much as possible, and then they imagine, oh wow, somebody has a desperately needed medical procedure, and shouldn't we maybe take care of them in that regard? But what they do is they divert the Medicaid funds and turn it into a slush fund for the states that goes well beyond emergency medical care. And New York and California would be bankrupt without the massive fraudulent federal payments that go to those states to pay for illegals, to create a massive financial incentive for illegals.
How would they be bankrupt because of that?
They wouldn't be able to balance their state budgets, and they can't issue currency like the Federal Reserve can.
And so their ability to balance budget is dependent upon illegals getting funding?
The scam level here is so staggering. So there are hundreds of billions of dollars of transfer payments from the federal government to the states. Those transfer payments, the states self-report what those transfer payment numbers should be. So California and New York and Illinois lie like crazy.
Wow.
And say that these are all legitimate payments. Well, these days I think they're even admitting that they literally want hundreds of billions of dollars for illegals. But for a while they're trying to deny it. So you get these transfer payments for every government program you can possibly think of. And these are self-reported by the state, and at least historically there was no enforcement of California, New York, Illinois, and other states when they would lie. There was no actual enforcement to say like, hey, you're lying. These payments are fraudulent. Now under the Trump administration, the Trump administration does not want to send hundreds of billions of dollars of fraudulent payments to the states. And the reason you have the standoff is because if the hundreds of billions of dollars to create a financial incentive to have this giant magnet to attract illegals from every part of Earth to these states, if that is turned off, the illegals will leave because they're no longer being paid to come to the United States and stay here.
Wow.
and then they will lose a lot of voters. The Democratic Party will lose a lot of voters.
And they would have a very difficult job if this is kicked out of reintroducing it into a new bill.
Yes.
Especially once things start normalizing.
Yes. So, like, in a nutshell, the Democratic Party wants to destroy democracy by importing voters. And the Republican Party disagrees with that.
And the ruse
They want communism, that's why.
Is that if you don't accept what they're doing, then you're a threat to democracy.
Yes.
As they try to destroy democracy.
Yes.
By importing voters.
That is literally...
When they say threat to our democracy, I think they mean threat to communism that they're trying to bring in.
What they're doing.
People to only vote for them and overwhelming the system.
Yes. And by the way, it's a strategy that, if allowed to work, would work. And in fact, has worked. California is supermajority Democrat.
Yeah.
And there's so much gerrymandering that occurs. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's
how it works. American Papa Bear said the new mayor of New York City is a Muslim socialist. Welcome to New Yorkistan. Let them experience this. They have to go through this. Mamdani is Khomeini 2.0. Fed the same BS, same lies, same agenda straight from the Islamic jihadist playbook, word by word. Some people don't read history. Yeah, some people don't learn from it. And if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it.
The new mayor of New York City is a Muslim socialist. Welcome to New Yorkistan. But for real, why are y'all so mad? Calm down. Let them experience it. They have to go through this. Iran went through the same bullshit. Zohran Mamdani is Khomeini 0.2. Literally. Khomeini fed the same bullshit, same lies, same agendas, straight from the Islamic jihadist playbook, word by word, to the people of Iran. People fell for it. Free shit, free this, free that, free food, free electricity, free bus rides, justice for the oppressed. You know how it ended? People do regret it. He destroyed the country, destroyed the economy, destroyed the culture, and people of Iran are fighting against it to this day. 2.7 million people dead. And same thing happened to the Soviet Union. Apparently, some people never read history. They never learned from it. They still fall for the same socialist, communistic bullshit, free shit. Who gonna pay for it? Welcome to New Yorkistan. Let them experience it. Don't be mad. The new mayor of...
And I do think that the CIA is the one who goes around the world planting like the Khomeinis and all them. Okay, Tony said this post has over 220,000 likes. She shares facts about Mamdani's policies. Mamdani will not openly condemn Sharia law. New York City will never be the same. Let's have a listen to this one. I think I might have to turn this down a little bit. Let's have a look.
Hey guys, so since Mamdani just won the New York City mayoral election, let's talk facts about some of his policies. I also want to preface this by saying that my father, who actually lives in New York and voted in this election, confirmed with me that voter ID is not required. All you need is to tell them your name and your address. He also confirmed with me that in theory, it would be possible for people to vote more than once. Just gonna leave it at that. So one of Mamdani's more popular policies is to tax richer and whiter neighborhoods. Mamdani also wants to decriminalize prostitution, and he said that one of his values is believing that sex work is work.
You support decriminalizing prostitution?
Yes, my fundamental belief that sex work is work.
Mamdani will not openly condemn Sharia law.
I'm asking you. I'm running.
And by the way, Sharia law includes forcing women into this. Mamdani also wants to introduce free healthcare, free childcare, and government-run grocery stores, all funded by the taxpayer. Keep in mind that before the election, over 1 million New Yorkers said that they would leave the city if Mamdani were to win. So once all of the rich people leave the city, those taxes are going to fall onto the middle working class. Now, this isn't one of his policies, but it does reflect his personal values. Do you guys remember his little rap career that he had? Yeah, so one of his lyrics said, "Shout out to the Holy Land 5, a terrorist organization." Not to mention that a lot of his top donors and supporters are closely associated with terrorist organizations. So essentially, Mamdani wants to introduce socialism into the city of New York, which we all know worked so well with Cuba, Venezuela, the Soviet Union. For those of you who voted for Mamdani, I really, really hope you know and you get what you voted for.
I do still think it was played with. Well, obviously with the amount of immigrants, but I don't know. Mail-in voting as well. People allowed to vote 6 times. I don't know. And all they had to do was tell them their name and their address. Okay, Clandestine said Trump continues to publicly push for the termination of the filibuster. The message being sent is not for Republicans. The message is meant for us, the public. It appears to be not so soft disclosure of what's coming. Nuke filibuster, pass MAGA agenda, voter ID, end of DNC. Donald J. Trump said the Democrats will terminate the filibuster in the first hour and if and when they assume control or power. Republicans have what the Democrats want. We should do it now and have the greatest 3 years in history. I hope they do. Mr. Star Spangled MAGA said, I'm sorry, but something isn't right here. Did 500,000 more people vote this election, or is that 500,000 illegal votes? Okay, because for the same area, I believe, last time, it had 1,339,471 and 1,255,185. Well, this time, for some reason, 1,792,760. It's close to this one. 1,792,760. 1,378,391. Interesting. Where did all these extra votes come from? Compare the numbers. I believe it's for the same place. Yeah. What the hell? Okay. And this from Canada. Absolutely appalled by today's ruling allowing the slaughter of 400 healthy ostriches. The Supreme Court has dealt a moral blow by refusing to stop this needless destruction. These are sentient creatures showing no symptoms, and yet they are condemned while we claim to value life and compassion. This isn't public health prudence, it's institutional cruelty. The CFIA and our government should have shown mercy to these beautiful animals. They threatened the farm owners that they would have been charged hundreds of thousands of dollars if they tested the ostriches to prove there was no infection and they are healthy. Even the United States offered to take the birds, giving them a chance at life, and they're still condemned. It's profoundly disgusting that living beings are treated in this way. Well done, Canada, well done. Smack my head. That sounds like our government that are killing koalas to make room for solar panels. But yours is under a public health. So they were suspected to have some sort of disease, even though they don't have that disease, trying to threaten farm owners that they would be charged hundreds of thousands of dollars if they tested the ostriches to prove there was no infection. Christie also said the Supreme Court has denied seeing the ostrich farms appeal. They are moving forward with slaughtering. How you feel about the farm aside, this is the beautiful bird they're going to do a mass killing of. It's not warranted. The birds didn't deserve this. No, well, they should be tested. If there's nothing wrong with them, leave them alone. Wow. Eric Doherty said, breaking President Trump confirms if the Supreme Court strikes down his tariffs, America will have to pay back trillions. We're taking in trillions. European Union, $950 billion. Japan, $650 billion. South Korea, $350 billion. Do the right thing.
Issues are ruling. It could be several weeks. Are you going to lay out any new additional tariffs before?
I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to hope that we win. I can't imagine that anybody would do that kind of devastation to our country. You know, we'd have to pay back trillions of dollars. We've taken in trillions. We haven't taken in billions. We've taken in trillions of dollars. We've made trade deals based on that give us, as an example, European Union, $950 billion. Japan, $650 billion. South Korea, $350 billion. Without this, we're not talking about that kind of money. And they're okay. They're satisfied. They love us. I just left. They all love us. So it's not like we're such bad people. But they were doing it to us until I came along.
There
you go.
It could be several weeks.
Sorry, my phone's ringing in the background very quietly. Clandestine said, there it is. Trump's now using Mamdani's victory as proof the Dems are moving towards communism. Well, it should show everyone. Mamdani validates Trump's entire position and could serve as the catalyst that justifies unprecedented action against the insurrectionist Dems. Let's have a listen.
If you want to see what congressional Democrats wish to do to America, just look at the result of yesterday's election in New York, where their party installed a communist as the mayor of the largest city in the nation. Remember, I've said we will never have a socialist elected to any post in our country. I used to say that, and I was right. We skipped socialist and we put in a communist instead. That didn't work out too well. But as I've warned for many years, our opponents are hell-bent on turning America into a communist Cuba or socialist Venezuela, and you see what happened to those places. For generations, Miami has been a haven for those fleeing communist tyranny in South Africa. I mean, if you take a look at what's going on in parts of South Africa, look at South Africa, what's going on. Look at South America, what's going on. You know, I'm not going to, we have a G20 meeting in South Africa. South Africa shouldn't even be in the Gs anymore because what's happened there is bad. I'm not going. I told them I'm not going. I'm not going to represent our country there. It shouldn't be there. Take a look at what's happening in different parts of South America. Take a look at what's happening in different parts of the world. But now the Democrats are so extreme that Miami will soon be the refuge for those fleeing communism in New York City. They flee. They flee. Where do you live? New York City, but I'm trying to leave because I don't want to live in a communist regime.
There you go.
If you want to see what...
Well, Chad Prather said, breaking, Democrat admit they are holding America hostage to protect a $40 billion Obamacare subsidy. They're funneling taxpayer cash straight to corporate giants like United Health while working families choke on $25,000 premiums for junk coverage. Oh. Sam Hoole said, don't drink raw milk, it's dangerous. 95 illnesses from raw milk annually in the US, but 48 million illnesses from leafy greens and processed food. But sure, let's focus on the milk from a farm with 20 cows. That's the real threat. Wow, look at the difference. 95 illnesses from raw milk annually. 48 million illnesses from leafy greens and processed foods. The Last Refuge said he was part of John Brennan's team in 2016. He helped create the fraudulent CIA Intel Committee assessment in 2017. We weren't allowed to mention his name, Eric Carr Miller. He framed Trump for impeachment in 2019, secretly working with HPSCI chairman Adam Schiff. Media protected his CIA whistleblower identity. Where is he now? Yeah, where is he? Eric Caramella. Chiaramella. CIA Ramella. Okay? Okay. Cynical Publius said, I think many young Democrat women believe warnings against Sharia law are simply racist exaggerations. While they were busy earning whatever useless liberal arts degree they earned, they were never taught the truth about Sharia law in Islam. We're taught all cultures, are equal and were taught that any criticism of non-Western culture must necessarily be racist. Ordinarily, I enjoy Schadenfreude when an idiot reaps the rewards of her idiocy, but in this case I cannot take joy in the shock of a woman will feel when told she must cover herself, must be accompanied by a male relative, and can be legally beaten for her own good. DC Drano said young female Liberal voters shriek about an imaginary Handmaid's Tale on the right, then vote for a guy whose culture doesn't even allow women to pick who they marry. Everyone was focused on the Handmaid's Tale. Seriously? I think Islam's a bit worse. I don't think you have to worry about the Handmaid's Tale. That was propaganda. Geiger Capital said Trump is right, by the way. If Republicans don't end the filibuster, Democrats will simply do it themselves as soon as they return to power. They'll also pack the Supreme Court. Manchin and Semina are gone. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said, the fact is Dems can act now to protect our democracy, voting rights, integrity of our courts and end minority rule. The Dems senators, in the way, need to get on board. The stakes are too high. We must end the filibuster, expand the court and stop dark money and protect voting rights. Ooh, see? They want to do it. They're going to do it as soon as they can. You're better off doing it first. Andy No said, Antifa and Portland leftists blame me and the far right for a fire that destroyed the car of a woke city council member who advocates for violent riot suspects. After an intensive multi-agency investigation, the suspect arrested as a black homeless criminal. Wow. Probably the very people she's advocating for. I'm just taking a guess, but I think my guess is a good one. Gunther Eagleman said, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I'm introducing 2 bills tomorrow to stop Congress from getting a paycheck during the shutdown. John Kennedy. Good. Let's have a listen.
I, like you, Mr. President, I've heard a lot of rumors about we're that close to reaching an agreement. We've been that close for a week. Frankly, I hope I'm wrong in saying this, but I don't think we're really that close. I wish we were, and I hope we are. But I think we're going to be in the shutdown a while longer. That doesn't give me any joy to say that. In the meantime, none of our staffs are being paid. No federal employees are being paid. I got some numbers in this morning that federal workers have had to borrow $365 million so far during this 36-day shutdown in order just to pay their rent. Our military is only being paid partially. Our air traffic controllers are not being paid. People who receive SNAP payments are only being partially paid. I don't think anybody wants to see anybody go hungry in America, and that's not a partisan statement. I think that's a bipartisan statement. There's precedent for this, Mr. President. Some may say, well, this violates the 27th Amendment. I don't think it does. That's why I'm offering 2 different flavors of bills. But in 2013, President Obama did the same thing that I'm doing now. They were in a shutdown, and President Obama supported legislation that said, if you don't open up government by this certain date, then you're going to lose your paychecks. And guess what? Members of Congress had an epiphany, and they found religion. They had a Damascene moment, and they opened up government. And that's all this bill will do. I'm not trying to grandstand. I wasn't going to bring this bill. When I got back here Monday, I heard all the rumors like everybody else that we were close. And I hope we are close, but we're not close enough. And so I'll offer these bills tomorrow, and people can vote yay or they can vote nay. But what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
2 things I got from that. First of all, if the shutdown's going to go on longer, is it going to go on long enough that Trump can do what he needs to do and fire people? And people are still getting partial SNAP benefits. And, interesting. Emerald Robinson said the elections yesterday were rigged. Just look at the vote shift in Mayers-Jones race, exactly the same as the 2020 election. Yes, this is totally organic, rolls eyes. Meyeres versus Jones for AG and VA. Look at how I can't say the name, votes fall off a cliff right as Jones' votes seemingly attach themselves to a rocket. There you go. Same thing, switching votes. Oh, by the way, End Wokeness said New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani on why he will empty out prisons. Violence is an artificial construct, he thinks. Okay, let's have a listen.
Oftentimes, we've even found as legislators, when we go into these courts, the term violent crime is even used when people are stealing packages. Violent crime is even used when people are accused of burglary and there happens to be a housing unit in that same dwelling. So violence is an artificial construction. And we have to be very clear that what is happening here with these district attorneys, that is violence.
What? He's insane. Who voted for that man? Okay. Samahul said pemmican was the original survival food invented by North American indigenous peoples who understood chemistry better than any modern food scientist. The recipe was simple but specific. Dried lean meat pounded into powder, then mixed with rendered fat at a 50-50 ratio minimum, sometimes 80% fat for winter rations. They added the fat because lean meat alone causes protein poisoning. Your liver cannot process that much protein without fat and you will die eating only lean game. European fur traders learned this the hard way, watched men waste away on rabbit and venison, then immediately copied the pemmican recipe once they understood. Pemmican fueled Arctic expeditions, Lewis and Clark's entire journey, the North America fur trade and military rations until the 1890s. The modern equivalent is a protein bar with 2 grams of fat, 30 grams of protein and 40 grams of carbs. One conquered a continent, the other gives you diarrhea at mile 3. Yeah, it's not advised to go for a protein bar with that. You're going to need to eat the real thing. That's very interesting, and I do believe that. Okay, the White House 23 hours ago said promises made, promises kept, the return of free speech. Watch Australia and UK and all of the places that want to censor free speech now with Trump. Watch what happens. Okay, and that's it for today. I'm going to leave it there. I hope you have a good morning, afternoon or evening, and hopefully I'll be live tomorrow. Hopefully I've got... Still not well. Okay, I hope to be back tomorrow live, and I shall see you then, guys. Much love. Bye.